Alright, as you guys already might know, our U.S. forces out in Afghanistan are not doing too good out there. Many American citizens are saying that we should just pull out already because we're fighting a war that cannot be won. And we're just wasting our time and money and obviously American lives out there. So we should just pull out already. You guys have to listen up so you guys can know what exactly is going out there in Afghanistan for two main reasons. Reason number one is so you guys could have up-to-date knowledge on the current war efforts. And second, just recently in the news, I don't know if you guys heard, but a U.S. staff sergeant snuck out of his base during midnight and went to 3 nearby villages and massacred 16 innocent Afghani civilians, which greatly set back the United States' plans on reconnecting with the people and gaining that trust back because they feel like all Americans are like how Bales was. In this speech, I'm going to talk about the current issues the U.S. government, we Americans are facing out there in Afghanistan and how the situation is looking over there. We want to talk about 3 main points. I'm going to discuss 3 main points. Point number 1 is how pretty much what problems the U.S. government and U.S. forces are facing out there in Afghanistan. Second, I'm going to talk about if we're winning the war, if we're losing the war, how our death rates are looking, compared to the Taliban's and vice versa. And third, how the security situation is looking out there in Afghanistan after the slaying of the 16 Afghan civilians. Now I'm going to talk about the current problems that the U.S. government and the U.S. armed forces are currently facing out in Afghanistan. The American government is being blamed for pretty much most, if not all, Afghan civilian casualties and atrocities, so which in turn are making the Taliban want to retaliate on us. For example, just a couple days ago, it just happened in the city of Kabul. The most secure city in Afghanistan, the city of Kabul, was attacked by the Taliban with suicide bombers, which the city of Kabul housed many foreign embassies, NATO bases, and our very own U.S. officials and our very own U.S. embassy. They said that they had 3 reasons why they wanted revenge on us. Reason number 1 was because they saw U.S. Marines burning the Quran and saw video of that. Second was U.S. Marines were urinating on dead Taliban militants. And third was obviously the U.S. sergeant that went into 3 villages and massacred those 16 lives. Also, the Afghan government and the Afghan villagers are blaming us, the United States, for corrupting their own form of government. And also calling us liars, saying that we're not keeping our promise. For example, we have not been keeping up the promise for reconstructing new housing projects, new healthcare facilities, new schools and farms. So the Afghan government is accusing us, the foreign contractor, as for rampant corruption and reconstruction projects, which in turn, obviously, the government is not too pleased with us, and the villagers are not too pleased as well. So we have to continue with our reconstruction projects so we could be in good terms with the government and the villagers, so they could be cool with us and side with the United States, so they could give us valuable information. For example, where the Taliban might be hiding tomorrow, or better yet, where they might be tonight, where they might be hiding their weapons, food, and equipment. Second, we're going to talk about how the war is going out there in Afghanistan. If we're winning, losing, how our death rates are looking like compared to the Taliban. Our U.S. Armed Forces death rates were at a 545 in the year of 2011, which decreased from a 699 from 2010. Yes, we've been winning a lot of battles out there, and the Taliban have been losing a lot of their key figures of their organization. But even despite their skyrocketing death rates, they still have a great influence over the Afghan community. And despite our decreasing death rates, us winning many battles, the Taliban still have a great occupational capacity out there in Afghanistan. So they're still holding a lot of upscale attacks. For example, like they just attacked the city of Kabul. That was a great example of that. And point number 3, now I'm going to talk about the security situation out there in Afghanistan after the slaying of the 16 innocent Afghan villagers. About a month ago in the Kandahar province of Afghanistan, a U.S. staff sergeant by the name of Robert Bales snuck out of his base in the middle of the night, went to 3 nearby villages, woke up and shot and killed 16 innocent Afghan villagers. Bales was on his 4th tour of duty, and his lawyer stated on his previous tours that he did suffer mild head injuries, but they were not that severe. So he doesn't believe that was the case that he snapped. He believes that he snapped was because the day before he snapped, he saw his fellow best friend and comrade get his leg blown off. So that must have been the reason why he went into that village and started just pretty much shooting everyone. So after that massacre, security is a big factor in Afghanistan. And so the Taliban are retaliating on us and on Kabul and all that. So security is a very fragile situation out there. It's very fragile. And so the Obama administration are having talks with the Afghan government. They're talking about pretty much for long-lasting security out in Afghanistan. For example, the Obama administration, the United States government, are having talks with the Afghan government and are paying all the Afghan military expenses. For example, weapons, food, uniforms, and training. It costs the United States about $30,000 per year just to train and field just one Afghan police officer, and that's just one, $30,000 per year. And it costs the United States about $46,000 just to train and field just one Afghan foot soldier. And on top of all those expenses, the U.S. government is still paying $1,872 per year just so they could do their job. If you add all that up, the U.S. government is paying about $3.5 billion a year on training the Afghan government and the Afghan military. Because as you guys already know, by the year of 2014, we are planning to retreat from Afghanistan fully and just leave. But we are spending a lot of money trying to train the Afghan military so they can handle their own problems when we're not there. Because a U.S. ambassador by the name of Ryan Crocker stated that before we leave Afghanistan, we better have a full grip on security. Because if we leave Afghanistan prematurely, we're setting the stage for the Taliban and Al-Qaeda to have another upscale attack here in the United States, such as 9/11. And as I stated, by 2014, we're planning to leave and handle all security issues over to the Afghan government. Now that we have talked about all the problems that our U.S. government and U.S. forces are facing out there in Afghanistan, let's review what we just discussed. Point number one, we discussed pretty much what the problems we are facing out there. For an example, we're getting blamed for civilian deaths, government corruption, and we're getting attacked on our bases and our embassies. Second, I've discussed the current war, how if we're winning, losing, how the battles are looking like, and how our death rates are looking like compared to the Taliban. And third, I discussed the current security situation out there in Afghanistan after Robert Bales went into those three villages and massacred those innocent Afghani citizens. Thank you.